Here we go. Here we go. Hey, 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 we are back. It is Tuesday afternoon. Sorry
Here
about
we go. Here we
yesterday.
go.
We didn't pod yesterday. We had like a family holiday here in the Bags household for the NCAA championship. So we're here this afternoon. It's your boy Bags and GP and JFDI. Hello, fellows.
Hello.
Hello.
How do you find this market? I mean, it looks like for how many weeks now? Two, four, we're in week seven of going nowhere.
Yeah.
Is that
Yep.
about right?
Yeah. I tweeted earlier, like this afternoon, that I think near term, like just looking at the bars, like I think that Thursday's bar is kind of your gauge where we rally above that. All right, I'll step on the gas a little bit. If we take out that low, which it obviously coincides with the 50-day there. I mean, if the 50-day gets taken out here, I don't really think it's that big of a deal. We're in a chop sideways mark anyway, and I don't really think downside is too great. But if we did take out Thursday's low, I'd probably start to trim, like, again, positions I don't have a whole lot of room in. And I'd look to kind of continue to clean up my portfolio if that was the case. But again,
That's
that's
your
just kind of
base
it's
case,
kind
Nick?
of near term. What's that?
Is that your base case that we're kind of going to trend in this range of Thursday's bar?
Um, I think best case scenario, or I think it'd be great to see, because I mean that would just basically tell us that the range is going to get tighter and tighter before we actually snap and or I guess either break down or break out. Um, I'd rather see the range tighten than get wide, like kind of get wide and loose. For instance, like
Yeah.
looking at like NVDA, or actually I'd say SMCI is probably a better example. But I mean, it's got a range right now from like what 800 to up to 1200. It's kind of a wide and rather loose range. I think you could have taken a stab at it versus the 50-day if you were really itching to get into the name. But at the same time, I think that's kind of your logical entry if you're looking to enter on weakness versus strength. So like if the Qs were looking more like SMCI was, I'd be in a more, I don't want to say bearish camp, but just like, all right, this is more likely going to resolve down near term than resolve to the upside. But I'm again, I I think we will end up resolving this. I think this is great to see, especially kind of just where we're at. The FNGU looks like, I was looking at that too. FNGU, why isn't it typing in?
Yeah, the mega
Which,
caps are back in fashion a little bit.
yeah, and we talked about it, I think, a little bit last week, where like if we saw Apple start to lift from here, I think it would bode well for the group entirely. I mean, Google already looks fine. Microsoft looks all right. Meta looks pretty good. Tesla, like I think Tesla caught a lot of eyes today just from scanning Twitter. More and more like technical traders are kind of starting to pay attention to the descending wedge and the descending channel. So again, like if Tesla and Apple started to participate and we see those lift, I think that'd be amazing to see. And then of course, like I definitely agree with GPs, Netflix as well. But same thing, like Netflix is fucking looking great. I mean, Netflix isn't even down to its 50-day yet, and it's just melting higher, which is probably frustrating a lot of traders because, again, these post EPS drift type type behavior is, unless you're already in a position, or it's in your style to, buy versus, let's say, the 20-day or buy versus a 10-day. I think a melting type trend is very difficult to both enter, largely to enter if you don't already have a position. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
I don't know. It sounds like you been sipping little bags of cider from what I was saying the other day, right? With megas coming back in, and maybe
Yeah.
Apple can be a catalyst here with its weakness, but I'm still waiting to see.
Totally.
What do you think, GP? And I know what you think intermediate term, but we still haven't gone anywhere. We're still sideways.
You ready for another lockout rally?
Are we
Yes,
ready
please
for
bring
another one?
it.
Yes, please.
Bring it.
So and so this to me is not a Qs conversation. I think the Qs will participate, but it's a NASDAQ composite conversation here, right? So
Sure.
we'll continue to talk about this until we're blue in the face. Maybe the CPI releases us higher. I don't know what the binary event is going to be that's going to release us from this godforsaken range, but the resolution here, huh?
I just laughed. It's godforsaken range.
Yeah, it's not even just a range. It literally does nothing except for 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Like nothing else happens, and some random zero DT crap at the end of the day, right? But what the Nasdaq Composite here is doing, and so this is where when I say lockout rally, I think this is where you start to see a broad-based participation, right? And then
Spreading
so
into like growth and whatnot, like IWM.
like look at some of the names that have been standing out over the last couple of weeks, right? While we're going sideways, Carvana, Square, Wayfair, Affirm, whatever you want to call it. Even Roku's had a couple strong days here. Not that I think Roku is going to move anywhere because they're still unprofitable, but you see Tesla starting to Tesla. I already called out the target. I think a lot of people are going to be surprised by the move here, personally, and except for me, because I'm calling for it. But I think, I think
A little
there's
pat myself on the back here before it happens.
well, it's more of the skepticism. Like there's not a single Tesla bull that believes that Robo-taxi day is going to be anything. Not that we needed the Robo-taxi day. I think this was setting up beforehand. I think I called it last Wednesday when I set the target. I didn't even know about Robo-taxi day. But ultimately, I think this is quite often people argue that Tesla's in a downtrend, and I argue that Tesla is not in any trend. It is literally sideways since November 2020. It's like the same price that you could have bought in November 2020. It is healthy, solid consolidation after a beast of a move in this name. It is the transition period from growth to maturity, back to growth, back to maturity. You can see it in the chart. It continues to do it. It's at two bases in breakouts. This is the third one that's happening. We're at the bottom of the range, so I think we can go potentially to the top of the range, and then it could potentially come right back down to the bottom of the range as well because Tesla trades wild. But I think you're in a situation where if you're going to NASDAQ composite it, right? That's the chart I started talking about here, is the Qs broke out, right? Qs broke out 408 straight to 450, basically, had its move. The NASDAQ composite, which is a broad-based index, has literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks, basically testing, breaking, higher, lower, breaking high, basically consolidating right at the 2021 all-time highs here, while it rides the 9, 10-week moving average up. So to me, you have this that's going to potentially be our next leg higher. And that next leg higher could be Apple, could be all these other kind of base names or whatever. But I think we start to move higher here. I know people talk about rates, people talk about inflation, talk about everything, but ultimately, if you go back, I don't know, to 2022, if rates are sitting above the rate of inflation, it is restrictive enough to bring down inflation. Rates are currently sitting at 5.25, inflation's at 3.6. It is restrictive enough that even if CPI rises to 5, which wouldn't be a good trend, rates are sufficient that they don't need to go higher, they can just go sideways. Higher rates means uncertainty, but sideways to grinding higher is a healthy market, in my opinion. Like everyone keeps calling, oh, look at this, I don't know, 1% move in TNX or whatever the 10-year rates, and like, oh, market's got to crash. I'm like, do people not understand that correlations happen for a reason, and that reason is not prevalent anymore? So that's the reason of the correlation back in 2022 was the rate of trajectory of rates increasing, go from 20 years of zero rates to now punching 4-5% in a year. That's going to break things, so people start to panic and they sell. Now that they've been stabilized for about a year, things haven't broken, people can buy back in, go for higher. Now, if rates start to go from 4 to 8%, like Jamie Dimon talked about, then you have another potential move that could be scary. But we're not there. We're not even close to there right now. So that's what I'd be watching, and I think it creates another lockout move.
So we think that we can still go sideways. I think we can still go sideways, Nick, to answer your question to me. I mean, nothing is, to what GP say, nothing is broken yet,
No.
right? But at the same time, that grind has slowed down. So what's going to be the catalyst? And I go back to what we've talked about several times in the past about if rates start getting lowered, that's probably not a good thing for the economy or the market. So I'm kind of feeling what GP's putting down too, with the hey, if we keep rates sideways is a direction to which resolves to the upside. Now I don't know if that's going to be an intermediate move, or I don't think it's going to be too short-term move. While we could get a pop this week with data, um, I'm just content to sit in my longs and just watch it play out. Nothing's broke. I don't feel like I have too much at risk. I've got cash on the sidelines if there are those buying opportunities. I'm just not in a hurry. And maybe I'm unique in that regard, that I'm not trying to move money around or put money to work, but I put money to work before this, latest trend took off. So I don't know. I feel pretty good where I'm at. And maybe that's complacency, maybe that's a bad thing, maybe that should be a warning sign. But I don't feel like it's complacent. I'm watching the market, and sideways is okay. Taking the elevator down is never fun, but we haven't even broken the weekly 9 yet. That's where I'm at, Nick.
Yeah, I feel you. I think for me, where we're currently at, just being sideways, unless the chart looks absolutely immaculate, I don't particularly want to take on any additional risk right now. Like
Yeah.
it's just kind of like a scan, set alerts, maybe trim. So again, some weaker names, but like I just don't. I'd rather add on strength right now. Basically, like I'd rather wait to see the breakout.
I do like all the fear in Tesla. I don't think there's many bulls remaining. I mean, there's the permabull crowd out there, and that's fine to be a permabull because Tesla has proven that it's eventually going to go higher. But it can consolidate for a very long period of time, right? And we look at the point from its breakout in 2013 all the way to 2016, then 2016 to 2019. I mean, that was pretty painful to be sideways. So you had to be patient. And I think that just because the market or Tesla is going sideways for an extended period of time, it doesn't mean you need to trade out of it. Tesla probably looks worse from a chart perspective than the Qs or the SPY. So I do understand that part of it, obviously. But it's holding a key area here. And every time it goes below, it pops right back. So yeah, I'm not sweating intraday moves right now. And I think that's a good way to live.
You've got a decent amount of SMH names, right? Like AMD
Uh-huh.
in
Yeah.
particular. Do you think SMH is tired, or do you think it's just consolidating right here?
I think it's consolidating.
Yeah,
I drew these ghost candles on a few weeks ago. This would be a more protracted move of this right here. So
mhm.
from May of 23 into October of 23, this is basically that same thing. And I can see us go, reach all-time highs and then consolidate a little bit further down and then pop right back up. So, I mean, if you want to classify that as tired, I guess you could, but I still think there's some more juice, right? Like, I mean, if I just take these ghost candles here and go to the top of them, I mean, that's 6%
The
high.
reason I guess I'm kind of in the whether it's right or not, I don't know, but like I'm definitely in the camp with a lot of the people talking about splits. Like I don't think I agree. I think the SMH names are consolidating and kind of building cause for another rip higher. And I think once we start seeing the splits, I think that's when we'll start to see, I don't know, maybe them see take a longer break.
GP, what's your take on the semis?
So the where I have trouble reconciling is the daily versus the weekly, right? So the daily looks like let's talk about SMCI, right? Because this is the one that a lot of people have been paying attention to. And so if you're looking at this on the daily and not the weekly, you immediately see what everyone else sees, which is the head and shoulders with the left shoulder getting a shit ton of volume and now it potentially breaking down here, right? And so that seems like it's a big concern because on the daily, you have this head and shoulders potential pattern here, the island kind of head top, whatever you want to call. But if you now go to the weekly, that shoulder, that left shoulder, that volume is basically garbage, right? Like,
Yeah, totally.
it's nothing. So, like, this is a weekly flag into, I think, the 13-week moving average is what I see, or something like that. On
Um,
very low
On
volume.
declining volume. Yeah.
Very, very low volume. Okay, not 13-week. Maybe it's the 18-week. I don't know. It's some random arbitrary.
moving.
I don't. It doesn't matter. The moving average is not important to me. It's you had a gap fill, and now you're retesting the gap here on the daily. And so far it's holding. So you want to see the head and shoulders pattern. That's what they want you to see. But ultimately on the weekly, it's a lot of volume to the upside, not a lot of volume to the downside. And then if you take a look at that from a bull perspective and look at the daily, it's not a head and shoulders anymore. It was a gap fill. And now it's retesting the gap here. And if it holds, and it's low volume, you can see every sell volume since that one big red candle has been lower and lower and lower, right? So to me, this is all kind of setting up for it could break out here, maybe off the back of CPI, whatever you want to, whatever the reason is, or it can consolidate for 6 months like NVIDIA did from May 2023 to December 2024. Ultimately, I don't think any of this stuff is broken. If anyone saw Jamie Dimon's note yesterday on JP Morgan's thoughts on AI, we are not even started yet. You
Sure.
got to go read that note. It's 4 pages, or not even 4 pages, but whatever it is, however long it is. Go read that note, and one of the brightest, strongest minds in the stock market is calling for 8% interest rates, but also what he's talking about is what AI means to this economy. He's literally not economy, to this country, to this world. He thinks it's akin to like electricity, right? So it's something to pay attention to.
That's bigger than the internet, that's for sure.
He compares it to the internet. Go read the note. I
Yeah.
think it's a really valuable note. It won't take much of your time. I don't know if anyone saw it, but that
Was it on his Twitter feed or on JP Morgan's in particular?
I think JP Morgan released a press release.
Oh,
I'll see if I can find it and post it. But so I think where people want to continue to call AI a bubble, which you can argue it, but NVIDIA is cheap now, right? Compared to even a couple of weeks ago. And so bubbles don't have bubbles because things are relatively cheap. They have bubbles because they're ridiculously relatively expensive, right? But growing fundamentals, growing stuff. So whatever this stuff is consolidation. When it decides to go, it decides to go.
Well, Nick said he would be buying strength and getting rid of weakness. I'm content with where I'm at. GP, are you eyeing any juggling of positions or adding to or starting new ones? And you don't have to
So,
mention names. It just we're Nick
so
and
the
I
only
are
one.
in kind of different places of how we're managing our portfolios, and just curious which side of the fence you fall on.
So there's only two names that continue to pull at my heartstrings, which is Netflix and Amazon, because as powerful as the markets have been, and earnings for both these companies have fundamentally better than 4 years ago, or 3 years ago, or 2 years ago when everything crashed, it refuses to clear all-time highs, right? You're talking about for Amazon, it's like 2 points. Like, come on,
Yeah,
literally,
Amazon's like a gnat hair away from.
but it refuses. It just won't even test it, right? Like it doesn't even get there. So I'm gonna try not to be what's the term, pound foolish, whatever. I can't remember. Anyway, and Netflix, right? This inherently is better. They're re-accelerating 2 quarters in a row. Their subscriber growth, their revenue, and their adding, it's all increasing. They've had 11 or 12 upgrades in the last 3 weeks, and each one of those upgrades has been a reason to sell. So my concern here is with Netflix is that it potentially is a double top, right? Because it's had a huge move, right? Over 230, 240% from the bottom. And fundamentals are insanely better than they were when they got crushed. So these two positions I think about quite often because I think I do the cost analysis, right? It's just like, is it better for me to stay in my Netflix position because I'm up 220%, or is it time to sell and put into assets that I think are going to go much higher over the long run? And so the debate and conversation I was having with my brother just last week is sell Netflix and roll it into Tesla. So yes, I'm looking to potentially make some moves, but I haven't yet.
So you're kind of where Nick is, but I would
I also
say
have a lot of
rolling
names
into
that have been.
Tesla's not rolling into strength. You're selling something near all-time highs to buy something that is undervalued.
That I think is undervalued.
Yeah,
Everyone
right.
think is overvalued.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Or things that are like dead money to me, right? And I don't think Tesla is dead money. So that's why
yeah. You'd still be buying strength, I mean, more or less, because you're buying like either a wedge break or a channel break, in terms of like just how it's set up currently.
Yeah.
So you're not necessarily buying all-time highs type strength, but yeah.
I would buy all-time highs in things that are reasons to be at all-time highs, right? Like buying NVIDIA at all-time highs is a really kind of not bad move, right? If you're
Yeah.
waiting for consolidate, we talked about this with gold. How easy has gold been since it took out all-time highs?
Yeah, no kidding.
How many times did we talk about over the last 2 years? Wait for gold to take out all-time highs. As soon as it did, it's just clear sailing. Look at how easy that is versus years of frustration.
Silver too.
What's that?
Silver too.
Yeah, yeah.
Silver's not at all-time highs, but silver's breaking out too. Just to throw that one out there a little bit.
But that's so like I think there's always reasons to buy all-time highs, and one of those is like gold. Gold has no intrinsic value, right? There's no earnings, there's nothing. So wait for the breakout. Catch the move off the breakout. You don't have to buy the low of gold and sell at the top. Just catch the move and be out once it's done, right? Like and you'll catch most of it. Or you can anguish in holding gold for a decade before it breaks out. And in that decade, NVIDIA is up 10,000%, right? What's your opportunity cost?
Yeah, true that. Is there a sector that you're looking at in particular right now that you think stands out among the rest?
Fintech.
Fintech, like
and financials in general.
Yeah.
Right, Square, but financials in general, it's consolidating at all-time highs after consolidating above 2008 highs for 2 years.
I mean, Square showed relative strength like all day today. Same thing with
Yeah,
PayPal,
but
really.
it also had relative weakness all week last week. So.
Yeah, okay.
Like that to me right now, 1 week is green, 1 week is red, and it seems to be until we break out of this consolidation, that seems to be the only thing that's happening these days.
Would you be buying Square right here?
No, you should have been buying it at 38.
Well, you didn't. Would you be buying it right here?
Sorry.
I'd be comfortable throwing a starter on, because
somewhere in the high 70s there.
If you ignore the last 2 months of price action, the pivot is really basically here at $80. Like that's the high of like last December and last July-ish. So like I'd be comfortable throwing a starter here. I definitely have my stop in the low 70s though. So you're giving it, 10 points of room, at least on your starter.
All right. What other fintechs are out there?
Take a look at Dave.
Dave.
Big move higher. It's in the consumer fintech space, similar to SoFi and all those names. They just went profitable.
SoFi. How can I forget SoFi? More like so fine.
Yeah, it's not quite stage 2, but definitely stage 2 potential. That's for sure.
We'll see.
If it gets, on the weekly, if it can get over 1050, it's gone. I was gonna say, I kind of like how cybersecurity is shaping up here. I like ZS and Palo Alto off the 200-day. Both of them are basically retesting that breakout from last November, and if it can hold here, also kind of putting in a double bottom off the 200-day moving average, where crowd's basically just completely held up.
Zscaler's hitting the 200-day and the 200-week.
Yeah,
that's got to be support, right?
I mean, I can't shake cybersecurity. Like, I don't know how I don't know how cybersecurity does not participate.
It is with
Going,
us for the rest of our lives.
yeah, right.
I don't disagree with that.
What about what are you guys' thoughts on the energy sector here, XLE? I mean, it looks a lot like GLD just in terms of how it's moved over the last couple months.
Yeah, it's I mean, I've been wrong XLE and energy for so long that I hate to say something about it now, but it looks great. It's looked really good for a few weeks.
Yeah. FSLR, solar, tan. I was gonna say I was FSLR looks great, whereas like the rest of them kind of look like shit. But then ENPH, God, even I don't. I mean, I don't want to look at the monthly,
It looks
but
similar to
the
Where
weekly.
before FSLR broke out.
where are my first solar bear flag holders?
That was me, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Poke.
Sorry.
No, I mean, when I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
No, I know. It did look like a bear flag. I won't argue it, but it didn't.
Oh my gosh! Check out the gush.
Get you some gush, Nick.
Funny, funny, funny. I was gonna say EMPH looks ready to kind of like a squeeze play right here. The 200 day is still, still trending down, but like all the MAs are curled are basically or what do you call it? Or they're all together basically. Like it looks like, and then the weekly and the daily look great. The whole weekly chart kind of reminds me of like every other chart, but in 2022.
It looks squeezy.
Yeah. I'm gonna keep that one on the. I'm gonna set an alert at 128.
Radar.
Yeah.
I like it. I think it looks all right. I think it's just the if it follows FSLR, it's just behind FSLR. I would say this is
Yeah.
FSLR did, right? And this is what EMPH is doing. So yeah, I think it should get a pop. Nice RSI and Stoke move higher, so that'll get my blessing. No bear flag here.
Um,
We would be
So, can I ask a question? We were talking about energy. We kind of went past that, right?
yeah, go for it.
Like, so there's a big divergence if you see it in energy, right? Versus oil itself.
Yeah, we've been talking about that for a bit too,
Yeah.
right?
So, which one is lying to us, right? Is energy front running the big breakout in oil, or is oil showing that energy's strength is fake?
would say that again?
Oil has been lying for a while then.
Yeah, but that's oil hasn't moved anywhere since September 2022, right? Meanwhile, XLE is clearing all those levels past January 2020, I mean September 2022 and breaking out. So is the XLE leading oil higher, or is oil going to lead XLE lower? Or are they not correlated at all? Because that seems to be the bigger answer.
Hmm.
I
Like
mean,
XLE is breaking out higher now than when oil was sitting at 120, 140, right? So what's the reason?
well, I'm not a obviously I'm not an energy expert, but I think in the what is it, the 75 to $90 range, that is still very profitable for energy companies, right? And when oil goes higher, that doesn't mean all of a sudden they're starting new drilling or refining more oil, right? So
Yeah.
I don't think that a correlation can always has to be causation, right?
Yeah. I was just thinking that it's not like consumption of oil is going up, so why would their profits might be going up slightly, but they're going to be pretty steady. So why is it behaving like a growth stock?
Well, they had all time for the entire past what 18 months, they've had record profit on top of record profit. So the companies in the energy sector, regardless of what the price of oil is, are still at maximum profits. So if oil went higher, would they get more revenue and profit out of their company? Maybe slightly, but it makes other aspects of their business more expensive, right?
Yeah. Sorry, just the question that I wanted to ask when you guys were talking.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know the answer. I'm just sort of theorizing it as we're talking about it a little bit. So
Typically we reward growth, right? So or longer term growth as well. So to me, oil being sideways, I don't see where the longer term growth is. So why is it already breaking out? Like I said, it could be leading the fact that oil is going to go higher here. But yeah, I don't know.
I mean, oil went negative. XLE didn't go negative, right? So
I mean, you'd have to think that they're,
You're
yeah.
damn close.
uh,
what were you gonna say, Nick?
well, I'm not sure. I gotta,
Right. Hey,
I
while
gotta
we're
think that
thinking
through.
about it, Googtastic wants to know about our thoughts on Starbucks. It still looks like it's in a bit of a downtrend to me, so I'm not in a hurry to buy any Starbucks. You guys looking at Starbucks at all?
So it could potentially still be a double bottom here, but it looks like crap. It broke last week. It broke that what's it 989.21 level on like a solid red candle, but not a lot of volume. So if this week it reclaims that 89.20 area by the end of the week, I would say it's a false breakdown and potentially double bottom here. So it looks like garbage though, but there's a
Yeah.
decent amount of accumulation bars in this chart since 2022. Um, so my assumption is that it may not reclaim it this week, but may reclaim it next week. But I think this is going to end up being a false breakdown, and so that's what I'd be watching for in the next week or two. If not, I think there's room to go further lower. But
Yeah,
there's a lot of accumulation in this chart. You can see it on the green candles, right? Since um April 2022.
I mean, if I wanted to throw a position on, right? I mean, I would probably just do it here, and if it breaks 80, then I'm out. I don't even know that I'd give it 80. I'd probably give it like 85, 84.
Just use this week's low, 86.31. Breaks that, get the hell out, right? Just
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty oversold in the stochastic, but RSI can still come lower. So I don't like the look of it. I wouldn't be throwing any rocks or any money toward it myself.
especially when you have other names that look better, right?
Yeah,
So
for
Yeah.
sure. And one more Pfizer. Still
I like
trending
Moderna
higher.
more than Pfizer currently.
I don't even look at Pfizer. I have an alert set that if we get a close below that 26.40 level, then remind me. Other than that, this is set it and forget it.
Yeah. I mean, it's still holding the lows. So treading water, like I said. I mean, if I were going dumpster diving between Starbucks and Pfizer, it would definitely be Pfizer.
Yeah, Pfizer has a 6.4% dividend to boot.
Yeah. Well, just based on the chart, though. I mean,
Yeah,
I would do this one before the other one for sure.
and it's tight stop, right? You're literally gonna risk 30 cents on a weekly close. So
A name we brought up not too long ago, MP Materials had a big day today and yesterday, up 9%
Last from the
yesterday, up
past.
8% today. I didn't see what the news was, but it's one I keep on my watch list. They mine rare earth, for those that don't remember, the old Molly Corp. Still in downtrend, but you're up 19% in a week. I'm not going to go chasing here, but it definitely has my attention.
yeah, it's got a lot of work to do, but yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, I mean I don't think that um, my keeping it on watch means it's in the clear by any means. I don't think that's the case.
Are we doing our picks this week?
Yeah, we certainly can. I'm ready.
Same.
You guys need a little time to think about that, or you already got them?
I think I got mine.
Nick?
Yeah, I'm gonna switch mine though. I was gonna go with Hubs, but I'm gonna if you don't mind if you don't mind,
Oh,
I'm gonna
I don't mind at all.
yeah I'm gonna go with Moderna.
Nicholas with Moderna, mRNA. And today's price of mRNA is
111.
11160. And GP, would you like me to go or do you want to go?
You can go first.
Tesla again.
Nice. I hope you win.
Well, I won the first time with Tesla. So Tesla is our first repeat in this little quarterly competition.
Well, that's taking away from my choice.
I'm sorry, GP.
I said that's taking away my choice. No, I'm joking.
That was yours?
Yeah.
You guys can both pick it.
Yeah, we can
No,
go.
I'm good. I have others. I don't
All right.
mind. So I'm debating between these two, and I think I'll make a decision, but I'll share them first.
Okay.
Redfin.
That's a familiar name for you.
Yeah.
That was my
And
hypothetical. I'm giving you money. Make me money.
and JD.
JD. Oh, little
JD.
China.
Yeah, have
Little
not.
China GP. Hey now.
So I'm probably gonna go with JD here.
Yeah, probably percentage. Yeah, good call. Damn.
26.
Because JD looks great to me. I know it hasn't done anything, so by great, it's all relative comparatively. But
The
Baba
monthly
doesn't.
MACD is crossing right here, and you have a 3-week tight on the 50-day or on the 10-week or on the weekly.
It's the volume. Look
Yeah.
at look at the volume in JD over the last since 8 months,
That looks
right? So I'm gonna go with JD. It'll probably be at 2672 in 3 months, but
good.
but I'm gonna go with JD here.
We've done these price predictions in the past. Do we want to do that, or are we just going to just mark it from here? Doesn't matter to me.
I don't really. I'm not great with price
Yeah, me neither,
targets, but because I rather just see them move out than I have this bias in my head. But I would say for me, if you wanted a price target, I think this gets to 41,
41
40, 41.
GP, 40 or 41. I'll give you that.
I'll go with 145 on Moderna.
145. Nick. I was hoping you guys didn't want to do this. I don't want to put my Tesla.
We all hope you win, right? That's
Yeah,
the problem.
I know.
Huh?
We all want you to win.
Yeah, I know. I know. Everybody wants me to win because we're all Tesla holders. I get it. I get it.
I'm happy to lose this round.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 295.
295?
Yeah,
Damn, bro. All right.
Did you not see my price target?
I
Nick?
did.
No.
I put StockTwits has this ability to do price predictions. So I put for May OpEx that we're going to close at 315.
Oh shit.
All right.
All right.
I'll take it.
Time to go all in.
I think we can get back up to that range area, the top of that range up here.
I think it clears that this time. That's the
Well,
goal.
it very well could. It's got to clear this downtrend line first, but I don't know.
If you're going to shoot, you might as well shoot big.
Yeah,
Yeah, true that.
I mean,
It's not like we're losing anything.
yeah, exactly. It's only my pride at work here, guys. Big deal. Big deal.
But it's a bear flag, Bags. It's a bear flag.
Well, Nick can appreciate this. I mean, you're humbled every day with kids, so why should I care about a price prediction on stock? You know, right? So
100%.
anyway, Zach Johnston. JD Weekly is setting up. Yes. My one request is ABG. What is
Looks fantastic. Looks fantastic.
Asbury Automotive Group. That's
I don't know what it is, but it looks fantastic.
That's tight.
It's got this beautiful upper consolidation. You have one cup. You kind of have a handle forming here. It's a good looking chart.
It's thin.
It is very thin.
But yeah, it looks great. Damn. These are the kind of charts I like.
Problem is you don't know when it's gonna go, Nick, when these charts are sitting, right? This is the gold chart, literally the gold chart.
Yeah, just wait for it to break out and then pile in.
Yeah.
Pile in. I really like that JD call, GP.
Yeah.
I was not prepared for some China from you today.
I was not prepared for it either, but I was looking through my charts.
That was not on my bingo card.
And so I was looking through my charts and I wanted to go Redfin as I was preparing this, and I was like, and I came across the JD chart and I was like, wow, this is the first time I can say there's a China name outside of PDD that looks pretty solid.
So we will reconvene.
EPS is in
the end of June.
7 days on JD.
Is it?
In a week. Yeah. It reports on, where is it? May 16th. Why does that say 7 days then?
So are we doing end of June for this? So we'll just like call it June 30th. Yeah. That's a Sunday. July 1st, Monday. Short trading week.
Yes. Nick, you mentioned cybersecurity.
Yeah.
And so I look at PanW, and PanW in one eye looks insanely bearish, and then the other eye looks insanely bullish.
Yeah.
I see this potentially playing out off the 200-day. It's the second test of the 200-day, right back into the 318, 315 area, and then essentially creating the right shoulder. So this is one that you kind of want to be on watch. If it clears that 318 area, it's not a right shoulder, it's going higher. But if it doesn't, then it's probably a great mean reversion setup here to a downside move. So a lot
My
of the
brother in
cyber,
Christ, the greatest investor of our generation, Nancy Pelosi, is piled in.
but she's got time.
Say that again.
She's got time.
True. I was gonna say, do you still own Sentinel One?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So if you were to define that as going stage two after it kind of broke above 18 or $19,
Mhm.
most Weinstein traders are probably looking to enter kind of where it's sitting right now on this test versus the 30-week. I'm with you. Yeah, GP, like definitely something to keep an eye on. I just,
Yeah.
in the back of my mind, like the idea of cybersecurity, I think it will almost forever be on a watch stock list, even if I don't have, positions on, just kind of for that reason. Like OKTA looks pretty good too here, at least on the weekly.
Yeah, I'm not arguing that as a sector they're not going to go higher over time. I think this is a bearish call short term if that level breaks, right? Any head and shoulders looking chart that fails is it's an extremely bullish chart. But if it gets to that 3 something area and starts to see resistance and sells off pretty hard, then it's something to keep on watch.
Yeah.
It needs to consolidate, right? Pan W went from, what did it go from, like 70? I don't even know. I'm bringing it up. Yeah, since 2022, it went from 130 to 380, right? So you had like a 200% move. So a consolidated move down to like that 200 area retest would be a gift, but most likely we'll stop around the 230 area if that happens.
I don't disagree with your assessment, GP. That 318 level has been an important level in Palo Alto, and Sentinel One very much has a very similar look. But on the flip side of the Sentinel One look, it's holding that gap that it created, which we've talked about when price comes down, but yet holds the gap up. That tends to be pretty strong. So as long as it holds this 20, low 22, 21 area, I think it's okay, Nick. Um, I haven't added any more to my Sentinel One position just yet because I kind of want to see these moving averages come in a little bit more.
Yeah.
It's still risky until that happens. The daily's starting to flatten out and recover, so that's good. But the weekly still, I mean, the nine's just now curling over the 20. And I don't foresee it popping back to $26, $27 here in the next couple weeks. So I'm content to wait just a little bit longer before I put any more money to work here. It's already a very large position for me. It's one of my top 5 holdings or top 6 holdings. So, and I talked about it for a long time down here in this area. So when I'm adding in the teens, why do I want to add in the 20s? I already bought some of the shares back that I sold in the upper 20s. So I don't, not in a huge rush to add more to any cybersecurity name, especially Sentinel One just yet. But I do have some cash to deploy when I feel like the time's right.
You know what also looks good?
What?
Duolingo.
Yeah, man. Duolingo keeps coming up with people who like the chart, and I can't disagree with you.
Yeah, that the weekly on the daily I freaking love. I don't know why I don't have a position currently, actually. I should probably.
Your Uber looks a little weak though.
Yeah, I liked the close today. Um, Closing below the February 14th low, which makes me think that it could be ready to squeeze here, but I also think, let's see, the range was what, 74.50 to let's just say 82, $8. I think it'd be if it rolls here, I think we're looking at it at the very least a gap fill, and if not, maybe a little bit lower, heading down to the 200 day.
60 is what I have for Uber.
60. Yeah.
And it's funny how Uber was already starting to look like distribution before any of the robo-taxi news came out, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of people are like, "Oh, what's the news? Why is the market doing stuff?" But this is a good example of a chart. If you're looking at Uber, Uber was already sideways to doing distribution way before the robo-taxi news came out. It's like they already knew that it was gonna ready to consolidate, right?
got this big volume gap too. I never like seeing weakness when you have, I mean, what is that? Basically 10 points down. That's tough for me to, if I wanted to get long here, like there's
I mean,
significant risks below you if you're buying up here.
yeah, it's doubled, since basically that November breakout. So this is now your second 50-day touch. Yeah, like I'd love an opportunity at the mid 60s to 60s.
It broke the 50-day.
Yeah.
It tried to reclaim it today, but it did not.
It couldn't.
Fail.
So I personally think this is, and if you're looking at like the RSI and the MACD, they're all still pointing pretty negative. And so having green hammers in those type of situations usually results to more downside moves, even though it's technically a green hammer or whatever you want to call it at the bottom of the range. Yeah, I always like to point these charts out, right? People are like, well, news dictates charts, and I'm like, not really, right? It's been kind of weak and sideways ever since it gapped up. It's essentially creating a island top.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. We get a gap below that 73.50, and that's a big old island top there. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So these are distributive moves essentially.
I mean,
how does Uber, thinking about it, like how does Uber compete with something like Tesla?
Easy. When it gets to $60, they'll announce a partnership.
Yeah,
the news will automatically turn bullish for it. That's how.
Yep. Sure.
Took the words right out of my mouth, GP. All of a sudden, your Uber is going to be a fleet of Teslas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uber has the infrastructure to do it. So if that's
technology
and if they got rid of their main cost, which is drivers.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not joking though, right? If they got rid
for
of
sure.
Those third-party contractors gotta go.
So they can operate so they just pulled out of cities because these cities, I think it was Minneapolis and a few other cities, where they were forced to take these contractors employees, and instead of taking them as employees, they said, we're just going to stop doing business in your city.
Yeah.
So if something like Tesla comes out, maybe partnership, license their technology, I don't know what it is, but that it gives them access to these cities where they don't have to have drivers anymore and circumvent the laws, so to speak. It totally makes sense. But You gotta wait for a price to come down for that news to start getting published.
You know how a lot of people are talking, so in terms of like the self-driving, um, a lot of people are trying to talk like buses and semis
Yeah.
first.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it make more sense? I guess I see that point, but wouldn't it make more sense to explore that in like urban, like city type environment where the speed limit's like 20 miles an hour?
So I'll give you my firsthand experience of Tesla's free trial right now of full self-driving. Last year my uncle was up here when my mom and dad were sick, and he had FSD. We were doing a lot of back and forth to the hospital, a lot of late nights. So I would try to use his FSD on his Model X many times over because I was tired and whatnot. And it it was not good at all. It actually forced me to wake up to pay attention. And it was terrible, right? Like especially in the roads of New Jersey and New York, it was miserable. And so I was very hesitant when it came this time around. And so I tried it. I took my wife to an appointment last week from our house to the appointment is about 28 minutes. The only time I had to intervene, one of them was when I got nervous, not because the car was doing anything. I just got nervous because there was a lot of traffic and stuff. So I grabbed control and then I turned it right back on. And the second time was when we pulled into the parking lot. So in 28 minutes, I had one intervention, which I think was mostly me. Is it 100% awesome? No, but it's damn close. And so since then, I've gone to see my dad. He's about 60, 55, 60 minutes. As soon as I pull out of my driveway, I turn on FSD. It literally takes me from my house to his house without any intervention, talking about exits, talking about local roads. I took it into New York City last week. It took me all the way into New York City, but I was running late. I got to 10th Avenue and 43rd Street. I was running late for a dinner appointment, and it was taking its time because it's cautious. So I took control back over to get to my dinner spot on time because in New York, I don't know if you've driven in New York before, it's quite a zoo, and if you're listening to all the traffic laws and stuff like FSD does, then it's going to take you forever to get anywhere. But it's been phenomenal. And I don't like I'm not some fanboy on FSD. I'm skeptical. I'm still skeptical that there's mass adoption towards it. But my gosh, the fundamental changes that they made this like when you had FSD before, it would take like 10 seconds to accelerate from 0 to 25 because it was so cautious. And now it's like it's a human driving. It gives a gas right away. It's making that left turn, that right turn. It is phenomenal in terms of what it used to be. Is it fully autonomous? No, but it's as close as it can be at the current moment, is what I would say. And so if they're building from here, to me, the only direction is up from this, right? And whether people assimilate and start using FSD as a whole, as a human society, we may not. But I can tell you companies will find ways to integrate this really, really easy if they can bring down their cost. And if you just have to buy a Tesla semi and it drives all and you reduce the cost of the trucker,
Yeah.
can you imagine the cost savings that they have? That also helps bring down inflation, brings down all of this stuff if it starts at the top.
I mean, the overwhelming majority of insurance cost that almost any business incurs is workman's comp. So you eliminate the human and like, holy shit, boom. The other thing I was gonna mention is that like it's interesting in Minneapolis, for instance,
Yeah.
historically contractors and land developers, let's say you came into Minneapolis and wanted to build a 50-story building, based on how much, based on the square footage, you also it was a city of Minneapolis ordinance that you also had to have a certain amount of off-street designated parking. So like let's say you had a 100-unit apartment complex going up, or I don't know, just saying hypothetically, you would have to be able to build a garage or have a surface level parking lot that could accommodate your tenants. I can't remember how many years ago that was. I think it was probably 4 or 5 years ago ish. That ordinance completely went away. So we have. I'm only saying this because I live up here in St. Paul, Minneapolis. We have buildings that are going up that are absolutely gigantic. That literally everyone living there, nobody owns a car. So
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting to see this Uber battle, because I don't know how like, what are we gonna all of a sudden bring taxis back? I don't know.
Well, so
But
like that, the implications there are insane, right? Like
yeah,
if you're talking about a bus that's fully automatic that basically just goes up and down the main street in Minneapolis or around in a circle or a loop, right? You don't have to worry about lunch breaks.
nothing.
You don't have to worry about anything. They should be on relative schedule consistently, and you can honestly have them run 24/7.
You no longer have a need for, let's say, light rail or tram, all of
Yeah.
that type of building. You basically have, yeah. I'm gonna read through that.
Yeah, but
That
you have an
JP
82-year-old president running, so he'll kibosh anything that's innovative. That's the problem. That's this. All these administrations, they're just not forward looking. If they were, there's some insane developments that can be had.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Like yeah, like our the geniuses in our country ought to be celebrated and protected and worked with, not worked against by our federal government.
No, you have to be a union genius,
Yeah.
right? That's that. Like it's the one that thing that stands out with Tesla quite often is they don't get recognized for their electric movement by the federal government at all. Not just the Biden administration, even the Trump administration, every administration, they barely get recognized for American built car for because they don't have a union.
Oh,
And so that's my opinion that they don't have it. That's the only reason, right? Like if you've actually heard Biden credit GM and Ford for the electric revolution, you're like, what the
yeah,
fuck?
I know. Like what?
And now they're not going to make electric cars anymore.
Yeah, they're going to hybrid.
Good job, Ford. Thank you, drive through.
But the
Speaking of drive
writing
through,
up was on the
guys,
wall.
it's dinner time for the kids,
Yep.
so I'm gonna have to bounce. But hey, we've gone a little bit over. I appreciate you guys hopping on, and hey, let's do an in market session soon.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hey,
On a
thanks.
day that's actually trending and not done
Yeah,
by
exactly.
10 to 11 a.m.
Thanks to everybody who tuned in today. Sorry about the odd hours this week, but we'll be back on schedule soon. I promise. We'll work on that and we'll get to that. But guys, thanks as always for being here, and thanks for being the stand up gentleman